All right, so let's put one more building here, but let's leave a space between it. So if I want to leave, no, excuse me, let's just leave that over there. That's getting kind of crowded. Let's go to this side and let's put a building over here, but I want a space in between. So if I want a space in between, have I drawn the line that's closest to me yet?
Yeah.
No. So you go to your horizon line along the base of the sidewalk, and let's just at least put that in so we have a guideline to the bottom of the building. So all I did is I lined up the bottom of the right side of the building with the vanishing point to create a sidewalk. But I don't want the building to start right next to this building. I want space in between. Like there's an alleyway, like there is in Macon. So how big of an alleyway do I want? Well, however big an alleyway you want. You just decide how far away from this building the next one's going to be. Line it straight up so that your ruler is the line of the height of your first building is along the line of one of your rulers. And I'm going to draw it a little shorter than the previous building. I decide how wide I want it. Angle out. And then connect vertically up and down so that it touches the line of the sidewalk. Then I can kind of erase that interior line. Right now there's only one wall to that building. So it's when we first drew boxes, we drew one side of the building first and it aimed to the vanishing point closest to that side. Now I aim to the other side of the vanishing point, starting with the bottom of the building and aiming up to the top of the building. So now, and I erase the line of the sidewalk between the two buildings, just like we did those floating boxes. There had a gap in between. Now I have a gap in between my buildings.
How'd you get the top little piece of the building?
I aimed the top point
to the
to the other
okay.
vanishing point, and I stopped when I ran into something.
Yeah, okay.
Mine's so far over you see the whole wall. I made a big gap.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, let's double check. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm just double checking. That's correct.
Upside down, she's double
That's
checking.
correct.
Yeah, I go with it right side up.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, can you imagine me checking 33
No,
degrees
no,
of
upside
upside
down, no.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's upside down.
I know, but still.
Because see, what's cool is you just hold that vanishing point and you just rotate your ruler
And everything lines
and everything
up.
lines up.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yay! Okay, good. All right, so this is how you would create a cityscape. Is you would look to, especially, you wouldn't be hopefully drawing something straight on. Get at an angle. Start with the tallest. Look at what angle it is, like that first one I showed you in the watercolor book, how I looked at the angles, and then you go from there. Now, if there's a tall building way back here, I'll just show you how I would do that, because we're about out of time. So I could add interest by creating something further in the back. It would still aim to the vanishing point. Now it's going to have a sharper angle because it's higher up. So I decide, how tall it is, how wide it is, and I see I'm looking to see that it ends different than, so it doesn't run right into another building right exactly on a line. But it just, you draw what's in front of you first, and then you build behind it. If I was doing the see-through things, the visual see-through, then all these lines would be visual. And that's kind of like what I sent y'all earlier. And sometimes if you're not sure how things line up, if you just draw through things and then erase that, then you can double check. But just by taking your ruler and holding it on that pivot point and looking to see, if you have everything that's on the right side aiming over here, everything that's on the left side, lining up and aiming there. It's really cool how it all works out. Okay, so now while we've got that, say we have windows we want to put in. I'm just going to do this front building. I'm going to go to the very front line, the first line I drew, just for simple purposes. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch and just put a dot along the line of the 1/2 inch along that front, the corner that's closest to me. I could have done that on any building. I mean, I can do it on this far if I want to do it here. I could do it every, let's see, can't even do it every 1/4 inch, can't measure. It doesn't matter what wall you do it on. You just do it on one vertical wall. All right, so I'm going to do this building first. I'm going to aim to the vanishing point. I'm going to draw the line, pivot, aim to the vanishing point, draw a line, pivot. As I get closer to the horizon line, you will notice that these lines get straighter. Just like that first day when I pulled out a roll of tape and I tilted it to where I was looking at it straight on, it was straight. There was no more a circle, it's not an oval anymore. So that's the same kind of thing. Like when I get close to eye level, things are going to turn more straight. And you just do the same thing to the other side. And we're not going to worry about awnings and interior doors and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole nother lesson. But this, I think, will help you see better and not be too intimidated by buildings. And at least give you an idea of how to line the windows up. Does that make sense?
So Carrie, the one I saw you do was an oil painting of a house up in Indian Springs. Well, it was some kind of building.
Uh-huh.
So did you do any of the perspective on it when you drew it out, or did you just see it, so you don't have to do that now?
I don't remember what that was.
It was a pastel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
One of your pastels.
You were doing a
Oh.
pastel
Yeah.
of a little,
Of the
some kind of
Yeah.
cute little building up
Yeah.
house or something.
I just drew it freehand.
Because it was the corner.
Yeah.
And you said that adds more interest and all, and it did.
Yeah.
Because I picked that because one side was in the sun and one wasn't. Because I always want a contrast in light and dark. And if you look at it straight on, it's going to be boring because it's all going to be in either light or shadow. So if I can catch a corner of the building, it's going to make it more interesting. But that one is also so far away that there wasn't a lot of, here I'm getting close. The closer you are, the more skewed your perspective is going to be. I mean, like go home and stare at the tile on your floor. The tile that's closest to you is going to be bigger.
Right.
The tile that goes away is going to be a lot smaller. And then when you get down on the floor right next to it, it's going to really be at a, just start looking at things, how different, like just right here, this buffet thing that I'm holding a TV on, it's pretty big here. And the angle is almost straight from where I am because I'm so close to it. But by looking at what we've done today, it's going to help you draw tables, help you draw chairs, help you draw Kleenex boxes, whatever, anything that has a rectangular prism to it at all. It should help you see the angles and stuff. Does that make sense? Y'all did really, really good today. Next week, I do want to work with the grid. So I know you two are already familiar with it. You've played with the frog.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna be working with this next week, where we use a grid to draw big, little, and this grid is to be the same size as this, and this is to help it shrink, and then we'll do one that's big. But if you're gonna do this, if you'll get a piece of paper and put over this rather than draw directly on here, that allow you to use it again. But I'll show you how to do that next week if you haven't already fooled with it. But the joy of that is when you learn this and then you understand drawing one line at a time, then you can get some really detailed picture. I've showed y'all Dinah's stuff, right?
Yeah.
How she took something that she wanted to draw, something that was important to her, and she printed it out in a black and white version. It's really good. It's really wonderful if you can have a black and white and a color, but since we're just dealing in black and white, you don't need the color unless you plan on painting it someday. But if there's something that's special to you, or if you see anything that's interesting. Oh, I wanted to show you one thing real quick. Those ribbon things. Let me do that really, really, really quick because it's so fun and easy. I'm just gonna do it with 2 pens. Oops. Well, I'll use the back of that. Okay. 2 pens, 2 pencils. 2 pens or 2 pencils. I just happened to have 2 pens closer than I had 2 pencils. See, I hold them together.
Oh my God.
And if it was a pencil, then I would erase this one and erase this one, and that would mean this one would go over it. I would connect, I'd make it a little longer so this would be all together. But you decide, what goes, like if I want this one on top, then I would erase this one and this one. Oh no, sorry, that would make this one on top. But it's just a cool way. It's just where they intersect. Make one of them a little longer. Let me do it with pencil better. It really screws me up when I can't erase. Oh, here we go. All right. So. All right, so here's the pencil. If I want this one on top, I erase those 2. Where they connect at a sharp angle, you just draw a line connecting the outside edges and erase one of them. So this, remember that scroll that we did? How this is similar, but now this gives the illusion that it's wrapping and twisting. If I want this one on top, I erase the lines that go between it.
I lose it sometimes. I guess the one pencil fits behind the other one.
Yeah, because it gets, see right here, it got skinny.
Right.
This is similar to a road that goes off, that turns. When a road turns, it gets skinny if you look at it.
Right.
But what's cool about this is then you can practice your shading. Like you might want to make this dark, and where it gets up to the light, you get lighter. Where it's darker under here, gets out to the light, it gets lighter. It's darker under here, it gets lighter, darker here. But you can play with it. It's just a really cool way to get some kind of perspective, and then you do those spheres, like you use those compasses, and then you shade those to make them look like they're round. And that's just a neat way to practice. But ribbon things, really fun. If you want it wide, you just hold it farther away. You know, you do the same thing. Because ribbons don't get skinnier. You know, they're the same width on the bolt. And you might could see it easier this way with it being thicker, farther apart. So, you know, if you have a ribbon to draw, ta-da, they're going to be so impressed. You just don't show them your trick. But you see how that, you know, just twists within itself?
And where it twists, you made it go across.
Right, where it crisscrosses, I'll pick one side and just kind of connect it so it's just a little longer, so it looks like one side is twisting over the other. And then you just erase one of those lines. But it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Pretty cool.
Very cool.
Now, if you want to do all three pencils together, then you'd have a striped ribbon. You know, however funky you want to get with that. So, anyway, I will stop that. I will try to have these loaded at least by tomorrow. Depending on how long they are, determines how long it takes to load it up. But we covered a lot.
We did.
And, you know, you might not be doing a lot of detailed drawings like this, but I think just having the information will help you when you see something, and you won't be, you know, taken back like I have no idea how to attack that.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's
Okay.
fun.
Okay, we only had two more.
No, what?
Two more. So next week will be the grid. I will have some, speaking of grids, if you have magazine pictures, now, you know, you're not, I recommend that you do things that, you know, if you think you're going to ever sell anything, that you should have permission for that. But, you know, say if you see this cute little dog in a magazine, and you want to use a magazine picture, you can use a magazine picture. If you want to draw this, I mean, I have a file of magazine pictures or calendar pictures because they're decent size. So, you know, any of these, I mean, if it's like, ooh, I like that one, Carrie, I want to draw that. It's like, okay, here you go. You know.
And you put the grid over that?
Yeah, because I've given you a transparency grid. You put the transparency grid over this, so you don't have to draw the grid on the image, and you can reuse it and reuse it and reuse it. So
But you're drawing on the transparency, right?
Mm-mm.
You're just using that.
you're
as your
using
guide.
the transparency over what you want to give you all the reference points. And then you'll have your paper with a grid under it that's whatever size you want to draw it to, that'll have the same reference points. So I'll show you how to do that next week.
Okay.
Then you can draw that was what just, for Dinah, that it just opened her world. Things that she thought she'd never draw because they were so detailed. She wasn't afraid of it anymore. And that's how I got my 7th and 8th graders to draw portraits. So, I mean, they did a great job too.
I'm sure.
So, anyway,
Say little calendars.
yeah. Look for old I mean, some of this, you might not want the fish, but you might want the turtle. Oh, y'all can't see it because that's not turned on, sorry. Finding Nemo. And, you know, you might just want to do the butterflies. I do the butterflies and ignore the background. Elephants, cheetahs, or jaguars, whatever they are. But now this doesn't have a lot of dark in it. So as far as shading, so I would pick something, I mean, it still helps you draw, so I don't really care. But this, see, it has some strong darks and strong lights. So, okay, we're getting there.
So if I want to draw my little dog, I just need to get a picture blown up.
I would have it at least 8 by 10.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it's really small, it's hard to see detail, especially when you're beginning this. And if you could draw, if you wanted, if you're doing an 11 by 14, then, I mean, when you're first starting this, sometimes it's easier to transfer the exact same size.
Yeah. Sure.
So,
Great.
okay.
Maybe
Put your drawing picture over the grid, so the grid shows through.
Yeah, you'll have you should have a blank
Grid.
grid in there. So if I was drawing, okay, see, in this back you have this sheet and then a grid that's exactly like this. Well, somewhere. Thought I had the same thing y'all had. Don't y'all have a grid that's this size?
Yes. In the plastic.
Okay, I might have pulled mine out, or I might not have put mine in. Okay, but say like this is going to go under a sheet of paper. I can see the grid through there. My transparency is going to go on top of my photograph, and I'll see the lines through it.
Oh.
So, if you could draw on a grid, but then you'd have so much erasing to do, it's just frustrating. But I will show you, I'll go ahead and show it to you. Well, it's something you might want to consider doing. Again, I don't sponsor any of these. I don't get any money from any of this.
Some
Oh,
paper.
that's what-
This is a light table.
Yeah.
This light table is awesome. All you need is a USB to plug it in. And when you're using a grid, and this is like $30. Light tables I used to spend for school over $80 to $100. And so when you have a light, and then you have this underneath, do you see how much easier it is to see your lines? So if you're dealing with heavier paper and you want a nicer grade of paper than than copy paper, I mean your drawing paper you might be able to see through, but if you have a tablet or a light table, you're going to be able to see it.
You
And-
tape it on there with blue tape?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So I would do the photograph on top of that.
No, the photograph,
That would be
Go
under.
underneath the
the
grid.
photograph, say if I was doing this,
The grid so that you can,
yeah.
So I can
So if
see.
I was doing that, I would take my transparency, put over here. That's the same size, and so I would know. Okay, in grid 1-1, there's nothing. When I grid here, I might start the elephant ear. But they're the same size, and then when I finish drawing this, I pull this off, and I have no grid on it, and I can use my grid again. So that's the easiest way I found, and because when we did it. When I did it with the kids, I didn't have transparencies for everybody. That's just too expensive. They had to draw their grid on their reference. Now, it doesn't move,
All right.
but you can tape it to it. But this way, you can use the transparency, and some of the transparencies, you'll have two different sizes. One will be this size, it's about 1 inch, and the other one I think is a 1/2 inch. So if you're working with something small, a smaller picture, and there's not as much detail, you'll use that one. And you might want to enlarge it, so you might have this as your drawing grid and your smaller grid on your picture because your picture's smaller and you're enlarging it. But we'll do all that next week.
But don't try to use the picture on your phone
No,
with the
Okay.
smaller grid, because
it's hard,
it's hard.
and your picture will and you might
Your phone
accidentally
goes
move
out.
it. Yeah.
You draw on your phone by mistake.
But
Just print the picture.
yeah. But if when we're working, if when we're learning this, if you have a hard time seeing the grid, through this, it might be where you have to draw the grid on your paper to learn the process. And then you might want to invest in, I mean, this is a small investment, $30. It's called, it might even be less than that because I got the stand with it, and don't do that because I never use the stand. It's called, what's it called? 4A portable LED light box tracer with stand. Let's see. Let me just put that up on the screen. Whoops. Why is it? Oh, the signal. Get me home. What? Not talking to me. Huh. I don't know what happened.
Watch Netflix.
Uh-huh. Oh well. Okay, I'll send it out to you in a text. But I got it on Amazon. From Tithe. I'll take a picture and just send it to you. How about that?
Okay.
But it's just a great tool, and you might find one cheaper, but there's also, if you go to Dick Blick and some of the art things, you're going to pay $100 for a light table, and it's just, for what I use it for, it's ridiculous to spend that kind of money when you don't have to. I was thrilled when I found this one. Come on, take a picture. And okay, I'll send those to you.
Okay.
But it's very helpful. Also, when, once you've drawn something, if you want to transfer it to another sheet of paper because, oh, I really like that, but I want to do something else with it, well, it's your drawing. Why not trace it? Or if you're going to paint it, you can print it and practice painting. You don't have to redraw it 20 times. So, anyway.